left, Stephen Collins on your right. Charlotte Solti versus Jeskai Delver is what we're going to watch here for round number 3. These players will get the green light, and we will be underway here in just a moment. And we'll see who's going to start things off. It looks like it will be Collins. He'll start off with a Pluto Delta. He'll sacrifice that down to 19. We'll see what land he wants to search up. And it appears both players on 6-card hands, so they've already resolved their Vancouver mulligans. Looks like Volcanic Island is the land of choice here for Collins.
I found in Modern, and I assume the same thing is true of Legacy, that the Vancouver mulligan, much more powerful on the draw, because on the play, you're often just playing a fetch land and shuffling.
Okay.
This has come up for me a lot in the games of Modern I've been playing, and assuming that your deck is also dense in fetch lands. Not every deck in Legacy is like that. There's some combo decks and some other oddball decks that don't have a lot of fetch lands, but the Vancouver mulligan on the draw, very powerful for obvious reasons. On the play, often it doesn't matter because you're just shuffling your deck regardless.
Sure, sure. A ponder here from Collins. He's going to keep. He's happy with what he's found. Picked up a copy of Brainstorm. We head over to VanMeter. VanMeter will draw a card. Creeping Tar Pit is where he'll begin things. Pretty indicative of how this kind of deck wants to play a game, starting off with a Tar Pit.
Yeah. Creeping Tar Pit, excellent in the mirror match. Very hard for decks to kill, can't be targeted by Abrupt Decay. A lot of the other removal is sorcery speed, things like Maelstrom Pulse and Leona Veil. Also very powerful at taxing Jace the Mind Sculptor, which comes up a lot too. So playing a land that comes into play tapped in a format where you can get killed on the first turn, pretty big cost.
Yes.
But there's a lot of upside for having this card if you anticipate a lot of mirror matches.
Delver Secrets there from Collins, but no second land for the Jeskai Delver player. VanMeter does have a Tropical Island. It appears he does have an Abrupt Decay in hand, so we'll see if he wants to decay now or potentially wait after Delver does reveal something. He'll just pass the turn back. Collins will take a look with the Delver. It's a Swords to Plowshares, so VanMeter will pick up a little bit of information there. Delver will flip into Insectile Aberration, and it'll attempt to come across here for 3. VanMeter will use an Abrupt Decay to take care of that. Now, we know Collins missed his land last turn, so perhaps we see a Brainstorm to see him try to hit it this turn, and there is a Brainstorm.
And Chris is showing a lot of patience here. He could have gone Tropical Island, suspend Ancestral Visions on the first turn in the game. He could have also made that play last turn, but you can see what his strategy is. He just wants to protect his life total. Eventually, he'll get around to either suspending the Ancestral Visions or putting them back on top of his deck and then cascading into them. But as long as he makes his land drops and keeps his life total high, he's going to have a better late game.
Brainstorm done resolving, no land there for Collins, so he has Brainstorm locked at the moment. Pluto Delta the draw here for VanMeter. Here's a Brainstorm for VanMeter. He'll draw 3, shuffle the hand up a little bit, and then have to put 2 back.
Everyone now has stolen that move from Reed Duke.
It's a Duke trademark.
Yep.
If players are trying to track the cards in your hand, you Brainstorm, you shuffle your hand away. You shuffle your hand around, excuse me. And they don't really know where the cards are.
Yeah, are you setting back cards that were in your hand, or are you setting back cards that you just found in the top 3? It's a minor gain, but the Duke sees all the edges.
It does. Verdant Catacombs in the land, and now here's a Thoughtseize. So VanMeter will get an idea of what Collins is working with here potentially. Don't know if Stephen wants to force will this or not. Doesn't look like he wants to. So you'll find 2 copies of Spell Pierce, a Daze, Swords to Plowshares, a Lightning Bolt, and a Force of Will.
This hand is a disaster for Collins. He has no threats and no cantrips and no land drops.
Yep. It's all bad.
This is about as bad as his hand can be in this spot.
See what VanMeter wants to select in this spot. He knows that a land's not coming, too.
Yep.
It does make you wonder, what did my opponent keep on top of the deck? Maybe it's some equipment or something of that nature. Who knows? But he looked like he's going to take the free counterspell and Force of Will.
Nothing else in Collins' hand remotely matters. So might as well take the Force of Will. That's the card that will buy Collins the most time. Try to draw out of this.
Verdant Catacombs will be sacrificed. We'll see what land VanMeter wants to get. He's going to go with an Underground Sea. And I think we're going to see the first Ancestral Visions be suspended here. And there is Visions. So suspend 4 for the powerful card drawer. Should it be unbanned in Modern, Patrick?
I prefer this card to be banned.
Yeah. I think it's a good spot for it.
Is the card too powerful? Maybe, maybe not. Does it promote bad stuff being powerful? Yes, I think so.
Thoughtseize the draw here for VanMeter. See his hand, he's also got a Brainstorm, Ancestral Visions, and another copy of Abrupt Decay. And if you're Chris, you got an opponent that's got no lands out there, you're not in much of a rush. We can do this for a little while.
Chris could have Thoughtseized there, threw a Spell Pierce before bothering to suspend that Ancestral, but he knows that Collins' hand is a mess, so there's no reason to do anything with that Thoughtseize. Wait for down the line for maybe Collins resolves the Stoneforge Mystic and you get the equipment out of the hand, or maybe you just shuffle it away with Brainstorm somewhere down the line, but Chris showing no real rush on that Thoughtseize, which I like a lot.
See if he has any interest in brainstorming here or not. Well, we could see a Thoughtseize now. But it looks like he might lead off with the card draw.
I think now is a good spot to Thoughtseize because he's drawn Tarmogoyf. He can Thoughtseize, get the Swords to Plowshares out of the hand, and then none of the counterspells work.
Looks like he's going to go with Tarmogoyf. One thing that Collins doesn't have right now is white mana for the swords, so maybe he's not too afraid of that at this point.
You're still giving Collins an opportunity to draw it off the top.
Yep. They're going to check the size of Tarmogoyf, which means we'll get our handy-dandy Tarmogoyf die out there. It is a 4/5 at this point.
Instant land, creature, sorcery.
Yep.
Pretty common.
It is Legacy, after all. Collins will draw. Scalding Tarn off the top means that white mana is here. So we got ourselves a bit of a game now.
Yep. Collins can at least answer the Tarmogoyf. The issue here is that he's got no pressure and didn't look like he had any pressure in his hand when he got Thoughtseize a couple turns ago, and these Ancestral Visions are looming.
Yeah, Ancestral Visions puts a real sinking feeling on the other side.
You got to move fast.
Yeah.
You got to move fast.
You know, that's one of the things that those suspend cards do. They kind of create this weird sub-game. There's swords. That'll take care of the Tarmogoyf. VanMeter will gain some life here. But, you know, if it's Ancestral Visions or if it's a card like Lotus Bloom, you know, you got to get moving.
Yep.
VanMeter will untap. Visions down to 1 and 2 respectively. He picks up a copy of Bayou. Again, not a lot going on in Chris's hand at this point. He's got a Brainstorm, a Thoughtseize, and Abrupt Decay. He doesn't really need to do all that much because his opponent's not doing very much. Looks like he might try for the Thoughtseize now.
I think it's fine to Thoughtseize now. You know, Collins has had several draw steps now to potentially find something. Could very easily have Stoneforge Mystic or True Name Nemesis in hand. So unless VanMeter just brainstorms into the goods and can afford to get rid of the Thoughtseize, if he can make a land drop and pay through Spell Pierce, I think this is a good spot to Thoughtseize.
Well, Brainstorm is going to resolve. Chris is going to put a couple of cards back. Now there's Bayou. And now here is Thoughtseize. So we'll see if this resolves. Spell Pierce number 1, Chris is going to pay for. And now we might get a Daze here. But this Thoughtseize got 2 cards.
Yep.
So that's not so bad. But clearly Collins wants to protect something over there.
I believe it's Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah. Collins will draw. Picked up a copy of Delver's Secrets for the turn. But you mentioned Stoneforge Mystic, and there it is. That's going to resolve. So, time to search for an equipment here for Steven. It'll be Batterskull or Jite. He's going to go with Batterskull. And now we head back VanMeter's way. Visions will tick down to 1 and 0. And now here comes the first Ancestral Visions. This will resolve. So VanMeter will draw 3 cards here, and his upkeep from that card resolving and then he'll draw a card from his draw step. So 4 fresh ones here for Chris.
And then the same thing's happening next turn.
Yeah. And that's really the appeal of a deck like this.
As long as nothing too crazy happens, you have an edge in any sort of long game because of Ancestral Visions.
Here's a Hymn to Torak. And, you know, this is a card that we've seen in Shard the Sultai in varying numbers. Some people really like it. Some people really don't like it. VanMeter seems to be a fan this weekend. It's very good in your combo matchups. And it could just be a backbreaker depending on how the die rolls go.
Yep. You can still get people's, the only lands in their hand and so forth. I would expect the metagame this weekend to be a little bit on the slower side. Probably a lot of, various Sultai and Jeskai strategies. And that's a good metagame for Hymn to Torak.
Lightning Bolt and Swords of Plowshares hit the bin. Abrupt Decay will take care of Stoneforge Mystic. And you see, all this is right here is just both players kind of trading resources, but Chris is just plus cards.
Exactly.
And that's how Shard the Sultai typically wins the game, is eventually it's just, I've drawn so many more cards than you, I've traded a resource with you a bunch, and then I'll finish you off with something.
On top of that, Collins has a lot of draws like Daze and Spell Pierce and Lightning Bolt that are just not worth very much.
Here comes another Visions.
You can see Collins' hand. He's looking at a Spell Pierce. It looked like he even was thinking about using it there for a second, but just no point.
Yeah, not going to get a lot of work done there.
Now Chris with 6 lands and a full hand against 2 lands, 1 creature, and 3 cards in hand. Those 3 cards are not very good.
See what's next here for VanMeter. He's got a full grip at this point. Looks like he's going to go Baleful Strix.
Just another 2-for-1.
Yep, that lines up pretty good against a Delver.
Probably going to be worth a card and a Lightning Bolt out of Collins' side.
Next up, Jace. All right, making its way.
So I was on the plane with Chris. We were talking a little bit about the deck, and he told me that he was playing a Jace in his list. That is very, very powerful. A lot of good stuff to flashback.
Yeah.
We're going to see it flashback Hymn to Torak next turn. Most likely, it's pretty great.
That's pretty good, yeah.
And I was trying to convince him to get 1 Unearth in the deck because he's got Baleful Strix also.
Oh, look at you.
I'm not sure if he went ahead and did it.
That is adorable.
No.
No Unearth.
4 Tarmogoyf, 2 Baleful Strix, and a Jace. That, to me, is enough for 1 copy of Unearth.
Gotta get that 61st card in the deck.
No, you don't.
No,
you don't.
That's what that is. Can't find anything to cut. Good old number 61. Here's a brainstorm from Collins.
I'd rather play 59 than 61.
Quotable quotes. 2 cards going to go back here for Steven. The land is a volcanic island. And I'll tell you what, that Jace demands an answer.
And what's great about this is Collins is going to do whatever he does on this turn. He's going to kill whatever he kills. He's going to cantrip whatever. VanMeter does not care.
No.
None of this really matters all that much. He's just trying to trade off resources and kill Collins with the leftovers. So VanMeter is not married to any one particular card in play, or he's not trying to draw to a particular thing. It's just, let's just keep doing this until you run out of stuff.
He's going to use Force of Will, removing Force of Will, to counter this Lightning Bolt and protect the Jace. And now we got a Spell Pierce.
And I think that VanMeter was protecting this Jace so he could flash back Hymn to Torak and get Collins' whole hand. Collins is just going to do this anyway.
Yeah, he just got his whole hand.
So there's no reason for VanMeter to go through any hoops protecting the Jace past this point because it's already done its work.
And now Steven has just a land in hand. He's got a flip Delver, sure, but it's staring at a Baleful Strix, so it can't attack. And now Chris is the one with a Brainstorm, and he's got 4 cards in hand at this point. And Steven Collins has a land in hand. For those of you new to Shard the Sultai, this is how you draw it up against Delver every single time.
Yeah, Collins did not have an explosive start, nor did he blow out VanMeter with Wasteland. So the game is just slowly but surely going to get to this kind of point.
Pluto Delta will be sacrificed here after the Brainstorm does resolve. So able to shuffle away the trash, get a land out of the deck. There's an Underground Sea. And now there's Liliana. That's a clean answer to Delver, too. And now it's time.
And that's the last piece of the puzzle, because the only real way for this game to get stolen from Chris was if Collins was able to sneak through True Name Nemesis, but now that's almost certainly off the table.
A Wasteland the draw. Yeah, Liliana is going to put a real stranglehold on this game now. Wasteland will take care of Creeping Tar Pit. Nice to have an answer to that. But Liliana's going to start ticking up, and as you mentioned, that's your answer to True Name Nemesis. And now it seems like everything is locked out now at this point. And now, Chris, as you mentioned, you can take care of the game with pretty much anything. Doesn't matter.
Just Baleful Strix.
Just poking away. VanMeter will draw. Picked up a copy of Shardless Agent. Looks like he's going to deploy that. Spin the wheel.
Triple his clock. A lot of misses here. There's a lot of removal, but
that's sort of a hit, sort of a miss. Takes care of Batterskull. Liliana could have done that too. There's an attack for 1. Nice thing about Liliana is if Chris's hand is good, he doesn't have to tick it up at all. You see him not use it that turn.
He's got Maelstrom Pulse and Abrupt Decay, so he can just wait.
And Collins says, I don't want to play this game anymore. There's really no way for me to get out of this. So Chris VanMeter is going to win game number 1 here over Stephen Collins. Charlotte Sultai up a game here over Jeskai Delver. That's exactly how you draw it up if you're playing Charlotte Sultai. However, for Stephen Collins, you have to imagine he's got some pretty good options in his sideboard to turn things around.
You'd say that, but 2 copies of Containment Priest, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Wear Tear, a Pyroblast, 2 copies of Red Elemental Blast, a Sword of Feast and Famine, a Pithing Needle, 2 copies of Meddling Mage, Electrickery, Vendilion Click. Vendilion Click, the 2 copies of Meddling Mage, the Pithing Needle, and the Sword of Feast and Famine all seem fine to me, but it's very dangerous to go to a bunch of red blasts against Charlotte Sultai. A lot of their impactful cards are black or black-green, and on top of that, being too reactive is a recipe just gets swallowed up over time in exactly the manner you saw there game 1. So I like the proactive cards that Collins can bring in, the creatures like Meddling Mage and Vendilion Click, but I'm not sure how many cards like Red Elemental Blast he can really bring in.
Other side of things here for VanMeter, he's got 2 Disfigures, a Grafdigger's Cage, a Pithing Needle, Nile Spellbomb, a Null Rod, 2 Meddling Mages, a Notion Thief, another copy of Force of Will in his sideboard to go along with the 3 in his main deck, 2 Golgari Charms, a Vendilion Click of his own, a Thoughtseize, and a Scrubland to help out with that white splash.
So VanMeter needs to protect himself from True Name Nemesis and Stoneforge Mystic. Barring some sort of Wasteland opening, those are the paths he has to steal the game from VanMeter. So all the cards that protect Chris from that, cards like Golgari Charm, the Null Rod, the Pithing Needle, I think those will come in, and 2 copies of Disfigure, totally reasonable against a deck with Delver Secrets and Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, Disfigure looks to be beautiful in this matchup.
Yep.
Some really juicy targets.
Yeah, Chris just needs to protect himself from the powerful openings, which is, a creature backed up by some wastelands. Not a lot he can do against the best draws except for trying to fetch basics and protect his life total. And then bring in a couple cards to answer a True Name Nemesis or a Stoneforge Mystic that slips through the cracks.
Well, those are the options there for both players. Game number 2 will be underway here. Stephen Collins will be on the play in a moment. But for now, we talk about the fall creature collection here at Star City Games. We've taken some of our favorites from game night. We put them on some playmats, some sleeves, and some player bundles.
Yeah, you see the hippo, the otter, the reindeer, and Penguillion Click.
Beautiful. First try, not bad.
Playmat sleeves, player bundles, all available. StarCityGames.com/creature collection to get your items today. Or head over to our dealer booth at any of our opens or any Grand Prix that we're at.
I was worried about Penguillion Click there. I was really worried, but I know the coffee's in. You're good to go. You got a lot of sleep yesterday.
Yep, turned in early.
Coffee in, breakfast in. You're on fire right now.
Had an actual pot of coffee for breakfast this morning.
1 pot all to yourself.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Indulgent.
StarCityGames.com/creature collection for more information. Game number 2 going to be underway here in just a moment. And while these players do shuffle up, we'll learn a little bit more about Chris VanMeter, a player who we actually saw get 2nd place at our Season 2 Invitational, lost to his good friend Alian Trazi in the finals when he was playing Amulet Bloom. He's also got an invitational top 8. That one, of course, that we did just mention. 18 Open Series top 8s with 4 wins. 33 years old, former home of Roanoke. We got to get that site updated. Now he's a Seattle man. He actually lives only a couple blocks from me. I was driving to the gym a couple weeks ago, pre-foot injury, and I saw Chris walking his dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was just ruthless with the horn because I'm an animal. Played college football at Whitworth College in Spokane, Washington. Loves himself some chess, and he's got 2 successful Kickstarter campaigns. So that is Chris VanMeter. He's also currently up a game right now as well here in this matchup with Charlotte Sultai against Stephen Collins playing Jeskai Delver.
Made the trip out, knows that the Players' Championship is within striking distance, but it will require some work.
He's got to put some finishes together. This is weekend as a big start. Next weekend, he's going to be at the Open Series in Dallas. That'll be Modern over Halloween weekend. I'll be joined by Jerry Thompson in the booth for that tournament. We know that Chris had a lot of success with Amulet Bloom, but it looks like he's searching for a different option as far as a deck to play. A little surprised. The players who are really passionate about Amulet Bloom have dialed it back a little bit. I don't know if there's a lot of hate out there for the deck right now or anything like that, but they've slowed down on the, kind of the talk of like, Summer Bloom needs to be banned or Amulet needs to be banned, all of that stuff. That's really, really dialed back quite a bit.
It just depends what you value. If you think Modern is a format where people shouldn't be killing on the second turn through counter spells sometimes, which that deck can do, then you would want it gone. But if you're talking about just raw power level, is the deck over the line? To me, it is not.
Scalding Tarn for Volcanic Island is where Collins will begin things.
The number of games where, that deck loses to a clock backed up by one removal spell is surprising.
There's a Delver of Secrets. We go over to Chris. Picked up a copy of Brainstorm to start things off. And there's a Verdant Catacomb. So he'll fall out at 19 as well. We'll see what land he wants to search up. He'll go with an Underground Sea.
And I think Chris may have kept a one-lander here. He's got Brainstorm and Thoughtseize, but is vulnerable to Wasteland, if I got a correct look at his hand.
Here is Thoughtseize. It looks like it'll be a daze here from Collins. He wants to protect his hand, so Thoughtseize will be countered. And now we'll see if Delver will flip. Checking on the upkeep. It will. It's another copy of Daze. Collins will replay that Volcanic Island. Chris has got to be pretty happy about that. It's not a Wasteland.
Could have been way worse.
Oh, yeah. Now just pass the turn back over to VanMeter. VanMeter will take a draw. Picked up a copy of Hymn to Torak.
A little surprised to see Hymn to Torak in VanMeter's deck on the draw. This is the type of card that doesn't really help against most of Collins' most explosive openings, which I am worried about the most if I'm in VanMeter's seat.
Curious to see if it'll be another Thoughtseize or a Brainstorm. It looks like it's going to be a Thoughtseize. It'll be a Brainstorm here from Collins. So he's going to draw 3 cards. And he'll put 2 back here in just a moment, perhaps trying to hide the goodies and let the Thoughtseize resolve. Because keep in mind, he did reveal Daze. So we know he's got a counterspell available for the Thoughtseize.
He could also just Brainstorm and then Daze. I mean,
also true.
Depending on what Collins' hand looks like. If he's got 2 relevant cards and a bunch of trash, maybe he just lets the Thoughtseize resolve, but if his hand's loaded, he can still just counter it.
And he will Brainstorm and then Daze. So Thoughtseize number 2 taken care of. VanMeter has to pass the turn back.
Wasteland.
You are ridiculous.
The crowd is calling for it. By the crowd, I mean me.
It's a crowd of 1.
And thousands of people watching at home.
It's just a Scalding Tarn. Here's an attack for 3. Let's see what's next here for Stephen Collins. We'll just pass the turn back. VanMeter picks up a Disfigure.
Big draw.
Yeah.
As long as the board's clear, he has a lot of time to draw out of this.
Going to pass the turn back. Well, now's a good time.
Yeah, now he doesn't have to worry about Daze.
Yeah. Disfigure right away. Get that Delver out of here. Disfigure, it's interesting just how good that card is in Legacy. It's a card that, right now, if it were standard legal, I'm not sure it would even see any play.
Maybe a sideboard card versus a Tarka Red.
Yeah.
Very little play.
But in this format, it kills Delver, it kills Stoneforge Mystic, it kills Deathrite Shaman.
2 toughness is the magic number.
Yep.
I mean, -2/-2 kills most of the marquee threats of the format. There's not a lot of difference between, Searing Blood and Searing Blaze in terms of what it can kill.
It'll surprise you just how good a card like that is in an old school format and would probably see no play in the new format, the standard, or at least very little.
Yep. And it's a lot about killing cheap creatures. The fact that it can't be red blasted is also really valuable because often these games are about protecting threats with red blasts. So it's an oddball, but it does fill a role in this format.
Time for Stoneforge.
Try to think of the 3 toughness threats that you can't kill with this figure. It's a short list. Tarmogoyf, which, you have other removal for.
Typically has more than 3 toughness, too.
Right.
Yeah.
But then after, what's the next most played card? Is it Sarah Avenger? Like, you really have to go pretty far down the list to find.
For something that has 3 toughness, I have to think about it quite a bit.
There's not a whole lot.
Batterskull, the weapon of choice. That one doesn't have 3 toughness either.
Wild Nakatl? It's like it's a really lean list.
Yeah. Card barely even sees me play.
Right.
Chris did draw a land. He's going to Abrupt Decay that Stoneforge Mystic very, very quickly. Good timing on that Polluted Delta. Spell Pierce to draw here for Collins. Here's Delver. And you said it, if he's able to draw out of this, he's got the tools and he's got the time because the board's clear. Brainstorm to draw.
At the end of the day, Jeskai Delver's got 10 creatures in it. So they do get these draws where they have a threat or 2, and if those get killed, they have to cantrip to reassemble a hand to do anything. And even if your hand's a little bit on the slow side, and Chris's hand certainly on the slow side, you have time to draw out of this if you have enough cheap removal. That's why that Disfigure was such a huge draw.
Tarmogoyf here for VanMeter. We'll see if this resolves. It's a 4/5. Delver checking. Delver not flipping. What's the draw?
Wasteland. Ah.
No, it's different land. Different land. Volcanic Island.
Would have been a good draw for Wasteland because then Chris doesn't have mana.
Yeah. Got it. True Nemesis is a pretty good play. It's a tough one for Chris to get off the battlefield, too. It's in there.
Really good spot for Golgari Charm.
Yes. The draw, however, is just a swamp.
I think it's good enough here for now that Chris has drawn a swamp where he should brainstorm right now because he can cast Golgari Charm after the fact if he draws it. And if it resolves, Collins is probably knocked out.
Well, that assumes that the card is in his deck after sideboard. I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
I have to imagine Chris is protecting himself against True Name Nemesis as much as possible. He also has the consolation prize if he fails to find Golgari Charm of casting him to Torak, which is not bad now that Collins has his shield down and doesn't have a whole lot of cards in his hand.
Charlotte's Agent among the cards drawn here. Really shows you the power of the black-green cards that came over the past couple of years. Abrupt Decay, Maelstrom Pulse, Golgari Charm, all very important cards for this deck.
I mean, a lot of the cards you're mentioning are why Jund is a deck in Modern.
Yeah.
They translate pretty well over to Legacy, too.
And it's a him. So Collins is going to lose 2 cards here. But it's not a Golgari Charm. There goes 1 card. There goes another card. Spell Pierce.
Vendilion Click.
Vendilion Click, got it. No good attacks for Tarmogoyf, of course, thanks to the True Name Nemesis that's on the battlefield. So all VanMeter can do is pass the turn back over to Collins. Collins will check with Delver. Delver's flipping. Force Will's a pretty nice one to find right now.
Yeah, that's a huge draw here for Collins as he knocks Chris down to 6 here. If VanMeter has nothing, it's just lethal the next turn because Tarmogoyf can't block anything. Even if VanMeter has an answer for the Insectile Aberration, well, then he has to find an answer for True Name Nemesis, which he didn't have last turn, in 2 turns through a Force of Will. It's demanding a lot.
Yeah, here come those beatdowns. VanMeter down to 6. There's a Trop. This is Charlotte's Agent. Top card's Abrupt Decay. Chris knew that one. So that'll take care of the Delver. Now here comes Tarmogoyf.
Remember, VanMeter is dead in 2 turns and Collins has a Force of Will. It could be hard for VanMeter to get this True Name Nemesis off the table.
Collins will untap the True Name. Red Elemental Blast was the draw. Here's an attack. VanMeter will fall down to 3. The follow-up is a Lightning Bolt. That'll make things even easier. Stephen Collins will tie it up here against Chris VanMeter. Jeskai Delver, Charlotte Sultai, getting ready for game number 3.
VanMeter with no absence of removal that game. Just couldn't hit True Name Nemesis, and that's one of the more common ways for a game to get taken away from Charlotte Sultai.
It's just the power of True Name, really. Against kind of any fair matchup, it's really just where it's at its best.
VanMeter's got removal spells, and he's got really good blockers, Tarmogoyf and Baleful Strix. So it's hard for a random creature that just attacks and blocks to cause too much of a problem for his list, but True Name Nemesis is a notable exception because you can't target removal spells and you can't block it.
Well, these players will shuffle up here for game number 3. But now we talk about the Season 4 schedule here in the Open Series. Mentioned there's a lot of time left here. Atlanta, where we were at a couple weeks ago before the Pro Tour, where Jacob Lively got the job done with Grumite Megamorph. We remember that one. That definitely had influence on things for the Pro Tour. But now we're in St. Louis for some Legacy action. Next weekend, we're in Dallas for Modern.
After that, we head over to Philadelphia for Standard. After that, we go to the sealed Grand Prix in Atlanta. Head over to starcgames.com/GP Atlanta for more information. A Standard Open Series event in Kansas City, Legacy in New Jersey, a Standard Open Series in Denver, then the Season 4 Invitational, Las Vegas, Nevada, Standard and Modern as the invitational formats with a 2-day $20,000 Standard Open Series event. That's December 11th through the 13th. And a week after that, Players Championship, Roanoke, Virginia, Star City Games headquarters, December 19th and 20th to close out the year.
Of course, all of these events up until Denver will get the Hop and Rabbit Master Playmat when you do sign up. Pretty simple stuff. You sign up for a tournament, you get one of these.
Yep, totally free to any of our 2-day $20,000 Open Series competitors through the Open Series event in Denver. That's December 5th.
Looking forward to all these dates here on season number 4. We're in St. Louis this weekend. As I mentioned, we'll be in Dallas next weekend. I'll be joined by Jerry Thompson. You'll be having the week off, so enjoy that. You'll be in New Orleans enjoying Halloween.
I will. Still figuring out if I'm getting dressed up or not.
I will be very disappointed if you do not have an Oscar the Grouch costume.
I am worried that I am likely to get kicked out of bars because an Oscar the Grouch costume is a little unwieldy. Like, it's hard not to knock over things when you're walking around in a big trash can.
Well, you're just playing the character. That's not really your fault. What am I supposed to do? Not knock over stuff?
Yeah.
You're an Oscar the Grouch. You two just really get along.
Kindred spirits, yeah.
One and the same.
Scram.
Both these players will take a look at their openers. Chris is going to keep. Steven's going to send his hand back. Is that like his saying, scram?
He has several. Scram is the top of the list.
Okay, I'm not familiar with the Oscar the Grouch catchphrases.
You should.
Are there more that you can enlighten me on?
Get lost.
Is he ever nice?
I don't know. That's a really loaded word.
Was there ever a moment of happiness for the Grouch?
That's another loaded question. He's just doing his thing, just like the rest of us. Living his life. Best way he sees how.
How is this character? This character's on Sesame Street, right?
Yes.
How is this a good character for children?
It was a great character for me.
What are they teaching children with Oscar the Grouch?
Some people are grouchy. Try to have some empathy.
Okay. All right.
You don't know what this person's struggles are. You don't know why they're upset.
You don't know why.
Don't be judgmental.
I guess you don't know why he lives in a trash can.
Yeah.
Maybe he likes the trash can.
Right.
Collins did keep 6 cards. Scried top card to the bottom for the Vancouver Mulligan rule.
Maybe you just value things differently than he does.
Also
Let's get away from using right or wrong to describe people's life choices and just appreciate that people have different values.
Ooh, he goes by Oski sometimes. That's fun. I bet you didn't know that. That's a Wikipedia fun fact. Oski. Or Mr. Grouch. There's a sword to take care of the Deathrite Shaman. VanMeter will gain a little bit of life in the exchange, but he's without his mana accelerant.
Deathrite Shaman, get lost.
Yeah, yep. It's got to go. Chris does have a wasteland. Yeah, there you go.
Beautiful. Opponent mulliganed?
And now a Thoughtseize. Oh
Yes,
no.
yes.
Oh dear.
Making sure this didn't get dazed.
You see the hand here? Two Brainstorms, a Force of Will, Stoneforge Mystic, and a Red Elemental Blast. It's worth noting that
Tundra, scram.
Yeah. It is worth noting that Charlotte Sultai only deck that has 2 Wastelands. Typically, they would take care of creature lands more than anything else.
Well, the other thing, this deck's trying to play kind of a longer game. It has other things to do with its mana, like Jace the Mind Sculptor and Creeping Tar Pit. So it's not a natural Wasteland deck. But when you have Deathrite Shaman in your deck, it's very easy to just leverage this mana advantage and use Wasteland to blow someone out of the water.
Big peel there. A Tundra for Collins. It looks like he might cast the Brainstorm now. Yeah. That's going to resolve. So 3 cards. Stoneforge is 1, and Daze is 2. Swords is 3. None of those are lands. Steven's going to be Brainstorm locked again here. It's very reminiscent of game number 1.
How many more ways? Chris got one more?
One more.
All right.
One more there.
Well, we can cross our fingers.
It's pretty unlikely that he'll draw since he only has 1 more. But I know what you're hoping for as far as the draw step is concerned. Not a wasteland. Just a polluted delta.
Collins got pretty lucky.
It sure did. Everything's coming up Steven right now as he draws and passes the turn back without playing a land. Chris picks up a copy of Toxic Deluge. Now we're going to play a little draw-go action on both sides, it appears. Chris with a Bayou. He'll play that. Has Charlotte's Agent in hand, but not really a great reason to cast it at this point. There are a lot of misses right now.
There are a lot of misses, and the 2-2 is worth very little. And even if he finds something good, it's not hard for Collins to fend it off with something like Daze or Spell Pierce. But you know, your opponent's stalled on land, and sometimes you just want to get your Gray Ogre on.
Yeah, or hit Ancestral Visions. I think that's going to get countered, though. Yep.
That's an illegal maneuver.
It's going to be tough to cast that.
You may not cast Red Elemental Blast off of a Tundra.
You can play Force of Will.
Spell Pierce
Also
Daze,
works. Yep.
Mana Tithe. A lot of options.
Don't know why that's in your deck, but sure.
I'm just saying, Red Elemental Blast, not one of them.
Daze will work. The Agent, will it resolve? It will die to Swords from the mana floating.
Still a victory for Chris. Got a 2-for-1 out of it.
Tundra, pass the turn back, over to VanMeter. VanMeter's hand completely reactive at this point. His hand's all removal spells. A couple of copies of Abrupt Decay, Toxic Deluge, Dismember, and I believe a Maelstrom Pulse. There might be a Golgari Charm hiding out in there. Either way, it's all reactive right now.
And he's going to just sit on this Golgari Charm for as long as possible. You saw what happened when True Nemesis got in the mix. I know Collins is only on 1 land, but this game is shaping up to go on for quite a while here.
Ancestral Vision's to draw there for VanMeter, so he will suspend that. 4 counters to start. It'll work its way down soon enough. Collins with another Delver. That'll resolve. Won't be long for this world, though. VanMeter can use Abrupt Decay to get that off the battlefield. He'll untap. Visions will fall down to 3. Time to draw. I believe a Thoughtseize is what he's picked up. Curious if he has any interest in casting that right now or if he wants to wait. And you might see him hold this Thoughtseize to cast like the turn before Visions goes off to clear the path for it.
It's possible that. It's also possible that he will Thoughtseize the turn before True Name Nemesis is something that Collins can play.
Sure.
He might cast it this turn now because Collins has 2 lands. But I think with Collins on only 1 land, he wants to give him as many draw steps as possible to find True Name Nemesis to increase the odds that Thoughtseize gets that instead of something less powerful.
Maybe he even wants to take a Batterskull.
Yeah, Batterskull is another great option here. Because once it's gone, it's gone.
Yep.
And then you don't really have to worry about too much of what Stoneforge Mystic can do because everything else can be killed via Abrupt Decay.
There's Abrupt Decay to take care of Stoneforge. Vision's down at 2. VanMeter picks up a Brainstorm. Perhaps he'll start his turn there.
2 p.m. Two-headed giant sealed event.
But we'll begin things actually with a Thoughtseize.
Opening.
Here's the hand. You got a Force of Will, a Batterskull, Stoneforge Mystic, a Lightning Bolt, and a Red Elemental Blast.
Starts at 2 p.m. You can register for that at the side events portion of the stage.
Actually kind of tough on what to take here.
Well, you can take Batterskull and have that be done for the rest of the game. Or you can take the Force of Will, even though there's no blue card in Collins' hand, because then his hand's pretty naked. It's just another Stoneforge Mystic that doesn't amount for much, assuming VanMeter can kill it, and a couple low-impact red cards.
Red Blast does check that Ancestral Visions, though.
That's true.
So that feels like it might be an option, too. But it looks like he's just going to go Stoneforge Mystic. And now, Brainstorm. While the shields are down, so VanMeter will draw a couple of cards. Wasteland among them.
That's another way to make sure that he can't Red Blast your Ancestral Visions is leave him without red mana.
Smart. Yeah. 2 cards will go back. Brainstorm done resolving. There's the Red Blast. Excuse me, there's the Wasteland. And now Deathrite Shaman. Pretty nice turn there for Mr. VanMeter. Stoneforge Mystic the draw.
Lucky.
Yeah, okay. Back over to VanMeter. Vision's down to 1. Collins. Spell Pierce. It's a blue card to go along with the Force of Will. So it's actually not bad right now. VanMeter going to drain here with a Deathrite Shaman. Visions is going to go onto the stack. And I think if you're Collins, you got to fight over this thing.
Yeah, I don't know how much better this Force of Will is really getting.
There's Force of Will removing Spell Pierce.
I mean, if VanMeter's hand is reactive, you still have a lot of time to draw out of this. But if that Ancestral goes off, that's probably not the case.
Tropical Isle on the draw. All VanMeter can do is pass the turn back with an active Deathrite Shaman. Looks like Collins found a land. It's a Wasteland. Steven wants to get an idea of what VanMeter's working with, so he'll take a look at the graveyard. Probably time for Stoneforge, and it is.
I mean, VanMeter's hand is not great.
It's pretty bad, actually.
He's got Toxic Deluge, which is worth a lot of time. He's got a Golgari Charm that does protect him in the event that Shooting Nemesis show up, but he's not got a lot going on.
Sword of Feast and Famine is the weapon of choice there for Stephen Collins. VanMeter will move Swords to Plowshares. And Deathrite will drain Collins for 2 more. But it wasn't pretty important for VanMeter to have that Ancestral Visions resolved. It got countered, and now he's got to draw the right cards. Tarmogoyf appears to be a start.
And I mean, it was really an operations thing on that turn where he thought Season Brainstorm. If he brainstorms first, he knows he's drawing Wasteland, doesn't really have to care about the red cards or the Stoneforge Mystic in hand, and can push through the Ancestral. Since he thought seized first, he ended up taking the Stoneforge Mystic, which didn't work out that well for him.
Toxic Deluge will be cast. Life paid is 2, and now here's Tarmogoyf. It's a biggin. And there's 3rd land. And a source of red mana there for Stephen Collins off the top of the deck. Tarmogoyf's a 4/5. And now there's the sword. Pass the turn back. VanMeter doesn't care about that one so much just yet. He'll draw, picked up a copy of Abrupt Decay. Pretty nice draw there. Tarmogoyf's going to come across here for 4 points of damage. Maybe more if Chris wants to Abrupt Decay that artifact. Puts an artifact in the graveyard for Tarmogoyf. I don't believe there's one down there right now, so. Yeah, it looks like that's what he's going to do.
It is a turn off the clock, as now Tarmogoyf goes to 5 and is lethal in 3 hits instead of 4.
So Collins down to 9. He'll draw, picked up a copy of Wasteland. Could cut VanMeter off a green mana if he wants to, but he'll wait.
He still wants to give himself the chance to draw True Name Nemesis, but going to come back to burn him.
Tarmogoyf was a pretty big draw there. And that's going to enter the battlefield now. And now I'm not sure Stephen Collins has a way out of this one as he draws a card. It's a copy of Stoneforge Mystic. But those Tarmogoyfs are 5/6s, and they're going to get the job done. Chris VanMeter going to win this match here over Stephen Collins. 2-1. Charlotte Sultai will take care of Jeskai Delver, and for VanMeter coming in with 2 buys, he starts to stay off with a win. He's 3-0.